It's July, and this is not the X-Men movie I want to talk about, but this X-Men movie connects to the Wolverine, so let's talk about X-Men 3. X-Men 3 The Last Stand stars Hugh Jackman, Halle Berry, Famke Johnson, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Ellen Page, Rebecca Romijn, James Marsden, Anna Paquin, tons of people. Basically the same cast from X-Men 1 and 2, but with a few new cast members this time around. And this X-Men movie isn't directed by Bryan Singer like the first two X-Men movies were. It's directed by Brett Ratner. Because for some reason, I don't know, Bryan Singer just thought to himself, hey, I'm ruined. I'm not gonna complete the trilogy. I'm gonna go and ruin another franchise. And thus Brett Ratner replaced Bryan Singer. And Brett Ratner can make good movies. You know, he made The Family Man, he made Red Dragon, even the first two Rush Hour movies. I enjoyed the first two Rush Hour movies. And, you know, the big question is, can Brett Ratner make a good X-Men movie? And the short answer, no, he can't. He obliterated the X-Men franchise, he took a piss on it, and scraped it, and just laughed at it. That's how bad this X-Men movie is. So, what's the good in this movie? Well, for starters, the effects are good, and the action is good, and the score is good, and the acting for the most part is good. Yeah, this is a piece of shit. And there's so many, this movie, for the most part, has the ingredients for a good movie. Like I said, it had the good acting, it has the good score, it has the good effects and the action. It's the story itself. It's a mess, basically. I mean, the story is, there is this cure for a mutation that is being developed, and of course, Magneto is all against it. He feels it's genocide, and Magneto hates humanity, wants to start a war shtick, basically. And while that is going on, Jean Grey, who's thought to be dead, is actually alive, and she has this other personality called the Phoenix inside, and thus, she starts to get out of control and starts basically becoming a villain, and it's up to the X-Men to stop her and stop Magneto. That's basically what the story is. It sounds simple enough. It's not. It's completely stupid. I mean, first of all, they're doing the Dark Phoenix storyline. Awesome. We wanted to see that in X-Men 2, and they, alluded to that. And now that they've got it, I mean, this is their chance to go, all out with the Dark Phoenix storyline, because in the comic books, the Phoenix is basically like this spirit, this entity from space that, finds Jean. And thus Jean becomes like a god as a result of that. And they really just simplify it as just saying, oh, it's just this power that was created inside Jean and became another personality, and that's why. I mean, that's lazy. I mean, if you're going to do Dark Phoenix, do the whole complex, storyline that's from the comics, because, it's a very complex story, and it's not something that you can just, solve in like 2 minutes. It's something that you need a full movie to, just to explore, you know what I mean? And they don't really explore it like that. It's stupid. And that's one thing I really hate about this movie. This movie totally feels different from the first two X-Men movies. And I can understand that when a director, gets on board, he's going to put his own take on it. He's going to do that. And it does feel that way. But they do know this is a sequel, and they should keep with what was done before. They should make it feel like what was done before, in a way. You know what I mean? And Brett Ratner just was like, oh, I'm just going to make it all comic booky. And trust me, I would love the comic booky tone. I really would. But it doesn't fit with this. It just doesn't. There's so much, like, comic book fan service in this movie that it doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, for starters, one of the best, I guess the only great part about this movie is like the whole Danger Room scene, because that basically is a scene from Days of Future Past. So if there's anything good, there's anything great that X-Men 3 did to us, was that it gave us like a little sneak peek in Days of Future Past. But you know, there's just like there's some fan service that's just stupid. Like, you know, the whole scene with Juggernaut's like, oh, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. I mean, first of all, that came from like this internet meme on YouTube that had like voiceovers of the X-Men cartoon, and that was one of the voiceovers. And Brett Ratner was like, hey, this is hilarious. We should put this in our X-Men movie. And it's just, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I mean, not just that though, but like there are some stupid decisions that were made in this movie that that get me pissed. I mean, okay, first of all, a lot of characters in this movie, they're pointless. They're absolutely pointless. I mean, you know, I'm trying to think, there's so many pointless characters. I gotta think of examples. I mean, okay, first of all, Angel. Angel is a cool X-Men character. He can fly. He's got angel wings. He was part of the original X-Men back in the 60s. It's cool to finally see him on screen. And basically, he's pointless. He only has like one scene with the X-Men. And he basically just says, "Hey, can I stay here?" You know, that's basically the only thing he basically says to the X-Men. Because like, there's this whole storyline with him and his dad going on, and it was not needed at all. It absolutely was just not needed. You know what I mean? They basically wasted Angel. And on top of that, they also wasted Colossus. And Colossus is a cool X-Men character because his skin can turn into metal and so forth. That's awesome, you know? And he had this really cool introduction in X-Men 2, and I'm like, oh sweet, they're going to save him for the third one. They're going to make him like a real character, like they did with Iceman or Pyro in X-Men 1. They developed them in X-Men 2. And they don't. He basically has like one line in the movie. And there's like this whole moment where like Wolverine's like giving this speech about, oh, how them never come home, they stand together as X-Men. And I do feel that for, you know, you do feel that for Storm, you feel that for, you know, Kitty Pryde, you feel that for Iceman and Wolverine and so forth. But you don't feel for Colossus because, frankly, you didn't have enough time to, like, you know, get to know this dude, you know what I mean? And basically you're supposed to, like, feel sorry for all of them. You're supposed to, like, you know, hope they all win. And yet you don't feel that way for Colossus at all. He's just, like, a waste, you know what I mean? He's coming back in Days of Future Past. I hope they use him really well. I really hope they do. There's this whole subplot going on because of the whole cure thing and so forth. Like, you know, before that, Iceman is, like, starting to, like, I don't know, like, have this, like, implied romantic feelings towards Kitty Pryde, and that's mainly because, you know, his relationship with Rogue is always that he can't touch her, he can't have sex with her and all that stuff. And, you know, basically, you know, he starts to be more attracted to, you know, Kitty Pryde and so forth. And when the whole cure, you know, is announced, you know, Rogue's all like, oh, if I take the cure, Iceman, you know, will like me again, will love me again, and all that stuff. And, you know, there's this scene where Wolverine catches Rogue, you know, leaving, and he says to her, I hope you're not doing this because of some boy. And clearly she is. I mean, it's stupid, and I hate that we're going through this storyline again, the whole, you know, Rogue nervous about her powers thing, because I kind of thought that thing was already done in X-Men 1, and they acknowledged that in X-Men 2, and it just sucks for going back to that. It's stupid. And the ending of this movie, I'm going to skip straight to the ending. The ending of this movie has Iceman, you know, he's back from the battle, and he comes back and he sees Rogue in his room, and Rogue has been cured. Like, she can touch people again. And I gotta say, this was one of the stupidest decisions ever, because, you know, the whole point of Rogue's story in X-Men 1 was that she was supposed to discover that her power is maybe a curse, but they're a blessing as well. They can help people, you know what I mean? And that the whole point, the whole moral of X-Men in general is to accept yourself. You know, you are what you are, or, you know, as Christina Aguilera puts it, you are beautiful no matter what they say, basically. And that basically just contradicts. That basically was like a middle finger to that when Rogue decides to change herself. It was a stupid move. And you know what would have been really cool if you had, you know, Rogue be used like at the end fight. Like, I could have seen the ending be like, you know, Phoenix is like destroying things and whatnot, and there's like no way they can stop her. So Rogue comes to, like, you know, Alcatraz Island, and she just like uses her powers and takes away, Dark Phoenix's powers, and the war would have ended right there. I mean, that would have been perfect, because then Ro could then learn that her powers are good. That powers can be used for good, and also at the same time, you would have the Dark Phoenix plot and the Cure plot, connect to each other, interweave. That would have been really cool, but instead we just basically have this stupid teen romance bullshit. And on top of that, it's a bad lesson to, teenage girls, which is, if I change myself, a boy will like me. That's what X-Men 3 will leave teenage girls feeling like, basically. It's stupid. Definitely stupid. And of course, there's the infamous deaths. Because if there's anything X-Men 3 has taught us, is that so many characters die in this movie, and it's not in a good way. It's in fact a middle finger, stupid, shitty way. First of all, you had the death of Cyclops in this movie. He dies in the first 10 minutes of this movie. In fact, I checked on IMDb. He has 4 minutes and 40 seconds of screen time. Yeah, Cyclops fans, you'll be happy with that. And look, I always knew that Cyclops was shafted in the first 2 X-Men movies, but I figured that at some point he has to be the leader. He's got to be the leader that we all know and love him to be. And they didn't do that at all in this movie. He's just killed in 10 minutes. And the reason why, they say this, Brett Ratner and the producers all say this, it's because, he had to go film Superman, which I gotta say, really, Bryan Singer? I mean, take the writers of X-Men 2 all you want, but you had to take the actors. You actually thought, oh, this role can't be played by anybody else but Cyclops. In a role that basically was just a pointless role. It was a stupid role, basically. And Professor X's death. Now, this was a death I was shocked. I kind of thought, okay, I know Professor X is alluding to, Storm taking this place, because he says that at the very beginning of the movie, but if you're going to have Professor X die, do it at the end of the movie. Do it when, it's the climax. It's the big moment. And somebody has to die, because, that's how you end your big moments right there. I mean, Jean did it in X-Men 2, and Wolverine nearly killed himself in X-Men 1. So it's appropriate that, so I think it'd be appropriate if Professor X died. And not to mention, you could actually, empathize with Professor X and so forth. You can actually, feel sad about, him dying, and yet you'd be like, you know what? He went out on a high note. He actually did what was right, and instead, you kill him off in the middle of the movie, and I understand they're supposed to have that whole moment in the Avengers where Coulson dies and the Avengers are like, oh, it's on now. But as soon as that happens in X-Men 3, they have stupid comedy, Juggernaut saying, "Oh, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch," and Wolverine kicking a dude in the nuts saying, "Hey, grow those back." I mean, that was just plain stupid, in my opinion. And, Jean Grey dies as well, except she gets, the most disappointing death ever. She just, gets stabbed, and bam, she's dead. Yeah, this whole godlike personality somehow gets killed with one stab. It's stupid. Absolutely stupid. And this movie's really short, too. It's 1 hour and 35 minutes. Yeah. Most epic X-Men movie yet is basically 5 minutes longer than Toy Story 2. It's unbelievable. X-Men 3 was a huge disappointment. And there's so much other stupid stuff that I would want to mention in this review, but I can't. But I can say things like, mutants attacking Wolverine, yet somehow they have bats and guns and so forth. Or I don't know, the whole stinger at the end of the credits. You know what I mean? There are a lot of stupid decisions made on this movie. And it's all due to Brett Ratner. Brett Ratner is to blame for this movie. I know I'm ripping this movie off, and I'm probably going, I'd probably give it an F, but because I mentioned how well acted it was, how it had good action and good effects and so forth, and the music was good, I'm going to be really, really, really generous and give this a C-, because if any of those elements were terrible, then this would have gotten like a really low rating. But yeah, I'm giving this movie C-. You think, Brett Ratner, from all this negative reception, would have like learned from this? He probably would have been like Joel Schumacher and said, "Hey, I was the director and I apologize." But no, Brett Ratner, the most douchiest director out there, defends this movie to death. He says, quote unquote, "Mine outgrossed the other two by far. Mine was the one that made the most narrative sense. I'm not knocking Bryan's movie, but he does a certain thing. Bryan uses his brain and I use my eye and my instincts a whole lot more. I'm not saying my movie wasn't smart, I just wasn't intellectualizing it. I was looking at pure entertainment value for what it was." Okay, that's when you know your director is stupid, when he didn't want to make something more than a comic book movie. He just wanted to make a silly action movie when the first two X-Men movies were trying to be something more than that. That is... You, Brett Ratner, fuck you. And this is one that I'm really just going to end this whole review with. He says, "When I was a kid and used to watch that cartoon, it was just fun. It wasn't deeper meaning for me when I watched the cartoon as a kid. I didn't read the comic books, but it doesn't matter. The cartoon is the same fucking thing." They're making 3 other fucking X-Men movies. Mine kept the franchise alive. I hate you, Brett Ratner. I hate you so much. You're not Joel Schumacher, Brett Ratner, but you're pretty damn close. X-Men 3 blows. Don't watch it. And next week I'm going to do X-Men Origins Wolverine. And I'm not looking forward to that at all. So yeah, what are your thoughts on X-Men 3? What do you want to see Bryan Singer change in Days of Future Past that was in X-Men 3? Take care, everyone.